Just getting it going here, guys. First time streaming on Rumble. Want to make sure I can drop a few links out there, you know. Got my fancy green tea. With stevia. I'm just taking a minute to get a couple of notices out there. Haven't visited some of these fan sites and Facebook pages in quite a long time, so changeovers have happened. It's just taking me a moment or two here, and then we'll get into the subject at hand, y'all. Hope everybody's doing well out there. Most of us You know, our problems can seem big, but in reality, there's a lot of people out there that would kill to have our problems. So I try to keep this in mind. I think that's going to do it. I'm going to just kind of get back to my main profile here. Shortly. I'm not sharing with the larger Daz3D community, mainly because this is just sort of a test stream, but it is something I want to get real serious about, and that is using Daz Studio to revisit the concept of massive multi-figure renders. So I'm turning the music down just a little bit and just verify that everything is rolling like I expect it to at my stream. Wow, seems like we're recording and running Daz Studio and streaming it back to make sure that it's working. So looking pretty good right now. So I've been doing these streams I've been calling Embargo 2023, and we're going to talk about that just a little bit. And the larger project at hand is manipulating Daz Studio in such a way as to be able to make renders that seem impossible when it comes to amount of content loaded into the screen, onto the stage. Let's talk about Embargo 2023 first, and what the greater genesis of this project is. So we're going to share some things here directly. Too many windows open. Always when I do these, too many windows. But that's okay. We're going to sort this. Embargo 2023 is, me coming to something of a realization that I spent around $3,300 last year on Daz products, buying Daz products out of the store. Now, obviously, I'm a PA myself, so I make a little bit of that back, a tiny amount of that back, but I was really into just getting anything that came out, because I started thinking in terms of the way that the Daz marketing team wants me to think, which is, well, they're going to be cheaper when we first launch them than you'd have to pay later, which in a sense is true, but it's a bit of a misnomer, because if you wait longer, not even that much longer, say 5 months, then the price kind of goes way back down, and they start using it as incentives for other sales, in which case you could pay way less. So ostensibly there is a strategy out there where obviously you buy all of your content legally and don't try to pirate anything, because that really hurts us PAs in ways you can't even imagine. Not so much me, because I don't do this for a living, it's just a hobby for me, but friends of mine that actually this is their sole source of income, and it's what they do for, I'd say 8 hours a day, but most of them are working like 15-18 hours on this, and to take away a couple of months worth of work from somebody just to try something out and then not pay for it. Obviously, I've got very strong feelings about that, as does Daz, but it seems like it's getting better. Of course, I am always on the lookout for my own stuff being pirated, and it's out there. So, we all kind of feel the same about that. And the temptation being as great as it is, I think a lot of people do try to steal a lot of this stuff, and so you can't necessarily say, well, if X number of people took this product, which I should have made X amount off of, and this is what they stole from me, because that's not how it actually works. When you sell a product at Daz as PA, you don't have control of the price. You can suggest a price. You can set the price. They'll ratify or reject that and give it their own price, which they think is, in line with other products. But then what you really can't control is how they bundle it and do deep discounts on it. An example would be the most that I have ever made on any project in my life, including all my IT work things that I had, 16 years of experience doing. The most money that I ever made was on a particular product that I put out at Daz 3D. It was when HDRI sets were first coming out, and I was one of the first people to drop one. And I had a really cool, unique location that I went out to and shot everything and edited it and put it into the right format. And I worked out that I made, and that was a sellout to them, before everybody started doing it. And I made $300. No, it was $400. I made $400 an hour for the time that I put on that product. But by the time I got into doing that, I had already been kind of making them for myself. So I really had it drilled, narrowed down to exactly what I needed to shoot. There was no messing around. And I had my process for post-work quite worked out. So I was super excited, thinking, well, I can't model, I can't do substance and all this very well, or at least I'm not dialed into that. But this I can do. Is photography based, cinematographer here, visual designer. So I should be able to do this, and it worked out great for that first project. Second project they accepted, did not want to buy it. No, they did buy it, but at a reduced price. And then the third one they didn't want to buy, they put out. And then I did maybe 3 or 4 more, and they basically realized that other people were taking the concept and doing it better than I was. Or at least they were more popular, bigger artists. So when they did it, their sales were much elevated than mine. So they eventually said, we don't want any more of this kind of product from you, which is fine. I mean, I take it as what it is. They are promoting the folks that make them the most money. That's just good business. No issue with that. But in time, a lot of other people started doing this product not as well as I was doing it. And, I just kind of began to look at it a different sort of way. It's like, if it can't be a product that I can do all the work for, in other words, if I have to hire somebody to help me do this piece of the modeling or whatever, it's not as salubrious. But still, there was a tiny margin for profit. I worked with some folks for a long, long time. Done a lot of great projects with Les of 6S1 and some other folks. And over time, those relationships got less and less workable for me, because I found that people that I worked with repeatedly began to take it for granted a little bit. And that just could have been the market. They were into other things. But a couple of folks, not just one, a couple of artists that I worked with really kind of did me dirt. I sort of saw myself as the design guy and project manager, and maybe the guy that would put a little bit of money down to make it all happen. But both of my main resources started kind of trying to treat me like an ATM, and that wasn't so fun for me. And then eventually I found another better relationship, and it's actually somebody that Daz uses a ton. I'm not going to out them. They did a big project for me that took almost a year, and it was a gamble. I knew it was a gamble because it dropped right when it dropped right when Genesis 9 came out. Well, I had it ready when Genesis 9 came out, so the choice was to just put it out for Genesis 8. Like a lot of other people did that and seemed to do fine because it hadn't been fully adopted, but I was nervous about it, so I went ahead and spent more money and made it for male and female, and Genesis 8 and Genesis 9, and it did okay. It did okay, but okay was not good enough, whereas before something like that would make just great. And I gather that there's just a lot more PAs now. So the more the PAs, the less individual treatment we get, because it's just a bigger group of folks. They have more products coming in. And if you just look at the front page of Daz, the releases are crazy. And these are not just like little easy post-pack products. If they are post-packs, they're fantastic, and they clearly took a lot of work with just incredible renders. So on the good side, the cream rises to the top, and it's the really good stuff there you can get now. But there's so much of it that even those people that are the top tier artists are getting less and less because there's more pieces of the pie coming out. Okay, so that meant I was making less for the stuff that I was putting in, but yet my spending habits stayed the same. As a PA, you sometimes get early versions of a product to work on and make, products to support early. You get that for free sometimes. Other times you don't. Some of the bigger ones you don't, like Death, you didn't. Van Helsing, you didn't, but others you do. So kept me really excited about being a completist. But I'm here to tell you that being a completist in Daz, from my perspective, what I mean by that is that every pro bundle that comes out, I have to have it, and I have to have it when it comes out. Down the road, they're going to give you an opportunity to buy that pro bundle for a fraction of what you would have paid. A small fraction. So in other words, you could pay $60 for a pro bundle, or you could get the same thing for $4.99 or less in a year's time. I didn't care. That was the little dopamine hit. I was addicted to it, and as a result, without even realizing it, I found myself, so the month before I started my personal embargo, and what embargo is I am committing to myself that I'm not going to purchase anything from not just Daz, but any 3D art, not Photoshop brushes. I usually make my own anyway, but not assets in another store, not lighting to make my promos look better. Nothing. I'm not going to purchase anything because I have conservatively like $38,000 worth of this stuff going back to 2003. I spent about $3,300 last year on these products, and the month before I started embargo, I spent like $281 and some change. So it was getting to be kind of a sick habit. Frankly, I'd rather spend that money on guitars or other things. And I didn't really notice what a financial drain this hobby had become, but more importantly, it became consumerism for its own sake. I just would purchase these things, often never even downloading them or putting them in a render, let alone putting them in a render. That was like the outside. Maybe if the PC contest for the week had something I just bought, maybe I would put a piece of it in there and make a little render. But for the most part, no, I didn't do that either. So that's where this embargo concept came from for me, because it felt like I could do myself a solid by saving myself all that money first and foremost, but secondly, kicking off my artistic and spending that time that I would have spent purchasing, looking at things, filling up the cart, changing it, figuring out what kind of combo deals. Daz is brilliant at marketing, and their stackable stuff is crazy addictive because you really can get new stuff for dollars. Like, for example, a character that I just dropped that I think is $24.95, like some of the sales, my cut of it was like $2. And I'm like, how does that happen? I know how it happens. They stack it with other discounts. And of course, those coupons none of that money comes to the PAs. So it's bad for PAs, but it was great for my addiction. So anyway, the addiction fed itself. But I came to the epiphany that I can't do this anymore. I mean, I could do it, but why? Why would I take up my means like that? And it's crushing me artistically. So I got to get back into the idea of creating cool things like this, for example. This is a massive I call it a massive multi-figure render composition that I made, back in 2008 or 9. I mean, it's been around for a while, maybe since that. You can tell that it's made in Poser if you look at it closely. But it took me about 6 months to just keep building on it in parts and assemble it in Photoshop. And there's a lot of me in this, projects that I did with various people that I worked with, old little production groups like Devil Dog Productions, a little superhero suit for a particular guy that matches one in a movie. A lot of these projects I made, or at least project design. Creech was that was the original, an original Poser character included in Poser. That we did as a project and got our names on Poser for a long time. There's an M3 character that I did back in the day when I first started making textures. So it's a lot of me. Here's an original Devil Dogs creature right here called Hell Beast. The original Manitou from Chris Highgood, aka Mustapheles, is right there, and I did a lot of work on that. yeah, just all kind of stuff. And then like content from sites that are no more, like Poser Pros, where I've spent a lot of money back in the day and bought stuff, and things from Renderosity and runtime, a lot of runtime DNA in this image. But you know, it's a cool image, but it looks two-dimensional. Like if you look at it, you can really tear it apart by just kind of going in on it and seeing the flaws. There's virtually no shadows. It is all composite. I mean, there's tiny shadows. Some of the shadows I went to the trouble of making in Photoshop, others I didn't. Some of them actually are rendered in. But you can imagine back, you know, like that many years ago, PCs weren't heavy enough to handle this much content, this much, you know, polygons and whatnot inside of the stage. So, you know, it had to be done in pieces. I tried to get consistent lighting, a consistent camera, and then the set remained, and I would just put various things on it. Like if you look closely here, these are ants chasing the Spider Woman around, and just all kind of stuff here. And then the backdrop, I wanted it to look like the walls were sort of burning away, burning the sheetrock down, revealing studs. So I created those studs using primitives, and yeah, it actually worked out. And I mean, it's not great. The concept is strong, I would say. So, and I should mention that it was another artist out there that that inspired me on this, and I actually commissioned a piece from him for an album cover. I'm going to get around to talking about him later in the video, but that's just a well that I could fall down showing you the work he did for me and why it was so cool. He did not use Poser. He used a higher end software, and his process was really lengthy and difficult, and less in the grasp of the, you know, hobby renderist, I guess I want to say. Well, anyway, I decided that I wanted to revisit this. Okay, so Embargo, I'm kind of posting and running updates to Embargo 2023, including on my, this is actually on my in the Daz General Art Studio Forum, Grave Rose Ground, a render a day, just where I try to post a render every day just to keep myself active. But going back to leading up to my Embargo starting, I was just sharing the things I was doing, some of it AI, but most of it just Daz renders, you know, and sort of setting up, here's the plan. And starting October the 1st, I'm going to do all this, and I'm not going to purchase any more products for a year's time, just to force myself to use what I have, and here's how I might use it, and that sort of thing. Well, now, you know, I am a month and a week into it, and so I haven't purchased any products, and I'm going to show you guys proof that I haven't purchased any products, at least on Daz, because I can show you my order history. I have made purchases technically, but they're $0, 0 cents freebies. Daz gives out a lot of freebies, so of course I'm going to help myself to that, and you should too. Keeps you active as well. But anyway, so the leading up to I'm going to have to take this call, so I'm going to pause for 1 second with my talking. Just give me a moment. Sorry about that, guys. Anyway, yeah, so sorry, I lost my place there. So yeah, here's me starting to spin up using old products from various websites and just being creative. And then I get to this, hey, we're going to do a multi-figure. I'm sorry about this. This is all just bringing you guys up to speed, because if it works out, I'm going to start live streaming these on Rumble. So I felt like I needed to do kind of a catch-up stream, and that's what this is. And usually I'll actually be doing this live, but what I might do is go back and line up some of the previous streams which I actually recorded, blast those out in one big file, or at least maybe edit those down so you can kind of see the building of this new massive multi-figure render using Daz Studio and modern technology, and of course iRay render capabilities. Now there are still some limitations, but just to give you guys a bit of an insight, I kind of want to show you something here. So this is my system information, and you will notice that I have installed physical memory 64 gigabytes. So if you're not in the know, that's a lot, okay? And even that will be tested by doing what I'm going to do, which is to create tons and tons of figures all over this in various scales. I'm going to play with the scale, and this is going to have like just hopefully hundreds and hundreds. I think on the final count, the other image at the top had 267 or something like that. But of course, I was compositing those, and I didn't load complete scenes, and so it was a little less impressive. These, my approach is going to be that they are going to be rendered within the same scene, just I'll be rendering this section and it won't have this section loaded in. I'll be rendering that section, it won't have this section loaded in, so on and so forth. And then what happens is, you see here I've kind of laid out the plan, foreground stuff here, and I gave numbers to the sections. I've abandoned those numbers since and just went with more descriptive scene names, but the concept is still the same. And I'm going to just have various scales of figures going off. Like if you look right here, I have a tiny little troopers off this ML dropship right here, and using instances you can get away with a lot that doesn't tax you too much. But the one thing that really does tax your machine is Genesis 9, and I have one Genesis 9 figure right here. This is a custom face gen figure based on my buddy Reggie and my online buddy Reggie, where he's really into this stuff and he joins me on some of these streams. So I'm going to recreate this character using the face gen tool, and I already have him actually in Genesis 8, so I'll just replace this Genesis 9 with Genesis 8. The only downside is I really like this outfit, which was Genesis 9, and I'm not sure of a tool to let me, or at least I don't own a tool to let me put Genesis 9 clothing on Genesis 8, which means I can't do it. So I could fake it, perhaps. What I think that means is I'm going to match this pose, which I do think I can do that much, and then I'm going to just take this guy out of the render and use an old version of the render that has him in there, or just reposition the Genesis 8. We'll see what I have to do. Okay, that is one of the steps that definitely has to happen, because this figure is just taking up way too much. Genesis 9 is super heavy, so just beware if you're trying to use these. You probably want to use Genesis 3 and Genesis 8. Most of my content by far is for Genesis 8, but I really love the Genesis 3 figures, so lots of times I'll have a figure made for Genesis 2 through 8, individual versions of a character. So, in this case, this new release of mine, Oswolf, which you can get on Daz3D.com, he's available for 8, 8.1, and 9. So this, of course, is the 8 version because he's much lighter. This is my old Creech figure that we contributed to Poser, built-in figure in Poser. But I digress. This is actually Oswolf female's feet, and she is a Genesis 9 character, but I got that piece of it and I pulled her out, so she's not actually in that scene. I'm going to go through a lot of showing you the technical parts of how I actually do this. One of the things that I know that we have to do is to create, and this is just for temporary compositing. Hopefully folks will understand what I mean by that. Let me pop over here one more time. Let's change the camera here so we can see what's happening. So, we have created as much of the scene as we could stand in the original, meaning before the machine started like bogging down. I actually put it all in the same scene, and I realized that, of course, I had to approach it differently. But what we can do here is PW Cliff House is a standalone figure that will always load the same, and I believe the HDRI is actually, it's not included, so I use a unique HDRI, so it doesn't come with one. But what I can do here is I'm going to just make a new scene. It's going to take a moment to clear this. I just wanted you to kind of see what the starting scene was for number 1. And these are all, I got 1 through 6 versions of this where I started building out the different parts. You know, what all's over here is in its own scene and so on and so forth. But the main important thing is freezing off this camera. So I'm going to start new, and we're going to kind of rebuild this and make an HDRI to match it. So I can render off all the figures on nothing but just a plain gray stage, and I'll render them as a PNG so there's a transparency, and then I'll composite the image onto a render of just the background, and then I'm going to build an HDRI to match the environment and throw light, and hopefully I'll be able to take the actual PW Cliff House out and use just the HDRI as a backdrop to render with the figures. It's going to be a massive savings on memory, and I'll be able to render faster. Right now, like a render, to get a good quality render, which I am, it's about 15 minutes. So that's 15 minutes per part at a minimum. Now, if I really wanted to go crazy, I could let these things render over about an hour and they look better, and I may end up doing that. But it's all about making it manageable. You just have to plan the parts right. So right here, I've loaded the central group. I have the central group, the mermaid group that goes down the side, the steam airship group that you saw in the back. But to start this off, I really just need to get that cliff house. So I'll just go in here and go PW. Environments cliff house. Environments full. Boom. Just checking the stream for a moment. Making sure everything is copacetic. Looks like we're doing fine, folks. I gotta say, the stream is running a little bit smoother on Rumble than I expected. Sometimes I can really feel a little bit of lag on my when I'm using YouTube, but I digress. Okay, so Cliff House is loaded. We don't need any of these cameras. They just confuse things. You'll see why in a moment. Just all the cameras. By the way, there's a really interesting thread over on Daz about our PW sets. That's this artist. Are they too big to make nice renders, or to have many characters in the scene? And the answer, of course, is no. You just got to kind of know how to use them. So really, to match up what I need here, I just need to add this camera, which is a locked off camera, and there we go. So once I have this, I can hit this little NVIDIA preview here, and you will see what we have. Shouldn't take long. Now, I have not yet loaded in a special HDRI that I'm going to use. So you see there's no HDRI. Okay, so to match the scene that I created, I have to go into my Dreamland library, and let's see here, Dreamland models library. Dreamland includes some really awesome HDRIs with several products, actually. HDRI lighting, they're all so good. So let's go with an 8K HDRI. This is not the same one I used before. I think I like this one better because of the position. Well, you know what? Let me try something else. That one actually puts the shadow in an unfavorable spot. I believe it was the garden. Okay, I think it was this one. Because I kind of wanted to match up to where we started before. I don't think that's it either. Okay, that's pretty even lighting right there. I mean, I need to kind of go look and see some of the renders that I've made. post it on my DeviantArt just to see if I can kind of visually match the lighting. So that's not what we used. Okay, I'm gonna just kind of try to match these. Nope, not that one. Really doesn't matter. Oh, that looks like it right there, actually. Oh, not exactly it, but this one will work. Oh, it's kind of critical. I have to kind of get this right. This one will work. Throws a lot of shadows towards us, and I'm really not wanting the shadows to come toward us quite as much as they are. That's favorable right there. I keep looking here. I could, if I wanted to take the time to load it, which would take a bit of time, I could find out exactly which one I used before. But we're kind of starting from zero anyway, so I think I can just make a decision here. So this one, it's really the positioning of the sun. I'm looking at the render that's on my DeviantArt, and it's just not matching up per se. So I really needed to match up a little bit more on where the sun's at. Just time of it. Actually, this is a pretty good one right here. So that's abandoned hopper terminal, and it's 8K, and the shadows will be a little more interesting if they are not so harsh. Okay, so I actually like this. So I'm gonna call this scene house base. Okay. Boy, naming conventions, I don't give it nearly enough attention, if I'm being honest. So I need to have a little bit of brunch. I'm on a health kick, guys. I've given up bread like 8 weeks ago. It's protein Pop-Tart that we sell here at Optimal Nutrition. Okay, real quick, you'll see where I'm going here. I'm going to make a quick render of this. I'm just going to call it house base. I'm going to do these sequentially too. House base 01. Save. There's a product called, I'll just show you this while we're waiting on a render. Awesome product called V3D HDR Creator. Now, everything that this little script does for you, you can do without it. And when I do my full tutorial, I will show you how to do it manually. In the meantime, we're going to do this with this script because it saves so much flipping time. So you'll just have to take my word for it that it's worth It is definitely worth $18.99. You're cheating yourself if you don't get this, if you make a lot of HDRs, because it makes it so much faster. And it cuts out the need for a program like Photoshop, where Photoshop is 60 bucks a month, y'all, if you subscribe to it. So, you know, this has a real value. But what we're going to do is get the same vantage point and create an HDRI, and then take the actual house out, freeing up all that memory, and we just got like one single image providing the light, high dynamic range image, providing the lighting. Now, there's a few other tools that we need to use, like a shadow catcher, to be able to catch those shadows the way we want to. I was so disappointed in this one tutorial that I bought last year that I ended up returning, where the guy's method was just, he didn't understand shadow catchers at all. And I just thought some of the steps that it suggested for doing what we're going to do here were just wrong. So I'm going to try to make this as painless as possible. The other product, look it up for a second here. I believe it's called Toolkit. Yep. So this is what we'll be using to help us, once we've created the HDRI, to help us use it with the figures on it so they have the right reflections and stuff on the ground, which is another reason I didn't want those super harsh shadows that the original HDRI that I used, you know, caused us. Because then you have something like this right here, and what you need is this right here. Put this. Brilliant tool. That's, I can tell you from experience, I tried to deconstruct it and make my own version. It's not as simple as it seems. So you guys don't see it, but we're at 90% on this render, so almost there, almost there. That's what you get in a live stream, guys. a lot of hurry up and wait. I guess I could turn my camera off so you don't have to watch me eat. And I could even turn the mic off so you don't have to hear it. Well, that was yummy, y'all. Sorry for the delay. Okay, image just finished, so... Alright, so now we have that. I'm going to go ahead and open up real quick. Now, this won't match up exactly, but when I show you this, you'll get the concept. So, a real quick way to kind of make this come together is to pre-render the characters out. Obviously, that's not going to work just like that, but you see the idea, right? I'll kind of assemble the whole scene here, make the part renders, and then eventually I'll render these using the HDRI that we are about to create. Let me just do a little bit of quick down and dirty editing to this so we can kind of figure out just a little bit more like how it's going to look. One thing about doing it in all these parts is that you have a chance to revisit and gosh, I almost wish I had my drawing pad hooked up because I could do this so much faster. Fun fact for you, Tremors the movie is my favorite all-time film with Kevin Bacon, Fred Ward. And I always thought this cryptozoic worm reminded me of that film. So, very cool. It was a little down and dirty. Edit. Just to get that stupid worm tail out of there, right? Boom. Okay. Now it starts to look right. And then we're going to just save this PDF. Now I'm going to do this because this is a real fast render for all the stuff. Oh, I know we can also adjust it and put it in place because we see that it should be like so. Oh yeah. Now we're cooking with gas. Okay. Just finish that idea real quick. And this is kind of our proof of concept of placement, and you know, when we actually make the final thing, we'll be using the same exact HDRI, so the lighting will be identical. So now it looks like I'm going in the direction to do this just the way I did the other one with Photoshop, but trust me, that is not the case. This is just a mock-up for the sake of a mock-up, and something that we can move fast with. We're not like, so let's go. We'll go the comp. There we go. I'll remember what that is. My naming conventions suck. All right, so now. We already have VG Times installed, so life is good, man. I mean, you know, life is good. Never, ever, ever update Daz Studio when it prompts you to. Give it a month, man. Okay, here we go. Using the okay. Thanks, it told me what to do. Oh, okay, I almost screwed up there. Let's get rid of that. So if you hold Shift, or I think it's Alt, and you go Add Camera, Please note these keys. Holding down the Alt key. Okay, sweet. Okay, now these cameras make it easy and render everything in the right dimensions for you. At a 2:1 scale and a spherical camera. That is the whole point of that. So looks like that did not work. Okay, why did that not work? Let's do, all right, we didn't do something right. So we want to hold that. We want to hold shift. Let's do shift this time. I don't know why it did not. Add a 3D car camera. Please note the absolute, all right. Usually active camera, review. Alt and shift keys. Okay, here we go. So we're going to make it this camera right here. And we're also going to select it right here. And we're going to hold the Alt and shift keys. I knew something was wrong. Add camera. Boom. Okay, now look at that. Now all I have to do is get in another view where I can look at both of them simultaneously. And I'm going to line them up exactly. Once that's done, but really they're already lined up. It's just a rotational thing. Let's put 0. Boom. And see where that puts us. That rotation is at that. Let's just see if that will match perfectly. That would make Brent a happy boy. Oh, dude. Look at that. Look at that. Okay. Alright, now we gotta figure out where we want to put this HDRI. I think I already had an HDRI development folder in there, and so I can just leave all that. So now that that's in there, I'm going to go to EXR Creator. Personally, I prefer HDRI files, but it seems to want to go with the EXR, and that works just fine here. It's just another method of an HDRI, another file format. So, a little bit of reading here. Choose camera setup, yes. We're gonna call this. All right, I have a texture folder set up. I got a product called Scenes from Dreamland where I've made all these cool Dreamland HDRIs out of those massive Dreamland sets. Guess you guys aren't seeing any of that. Sorry. It's not showing you all the pop-up. Let me get it over here where you can actually see the pop-up. Sorry about that, guys. There we go. That's the pop-up I've been reading the whole time and, you know, making you guys wonder, what the heck is he talking about? Okay, so I'm going to call this BW with house multi-figure field. Do not have it selected right. BW with house multi-figure base. That's what we'll call it. That location's cool. That's fine. All this should be good. The only thing about this is that sometimes renders it so poorly, and I feel like I haven't set up enough render time for it. I'm gonna just let it do what it's gonna do. Safe mode. There shouldn't be any problem there because I don't have any lights on. Okay. Save all current settings. I'm gonna go right here. Oh, let's go back and grab this name. Just want that to be the same. But there's actually a way that you can do copy presets. Boom, should do that. Yep, there you go. Very well made script, very thought out. I am digging it. I diggeth it. Proceed to basic preset save. That will save that preset. Now, the preset is there, but the actual texture is not. So now I have to render this. So render now with current options. That is the tricky part. That's why I saved it, right? So what I'm going to do is make it render it for 15 minutes. If I just let it go, it'll render a version of it that's so crappy you won't want to use it. It'll have lots of sparklies in it. Now, that's a pretty easy going render. There's not a lot in that scene, and the light is fairly basic, so I think 15 minutes will give us a good result. So you're going to have to bear with me for 15 minutes while I render this bad boy. You're getting to see all my music here. That's wonderful. Very not professional. Sorry. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and hit the script up one more time. Save my presets. Post filtering. Yes, of course. Always. Why not? Progressive render. Render quality enabled. That name doesn't matter. So I don't think that matters in the case of the. So I'm going to go back. Add EXR creator. That's the reason I did the basic save on all of that information. So now that's my cursor moving it over, even though you don't see it in this window. And I'm just hitting double checking that it saved everything. It did. I'm hitting render now with current options. Now this should produce okay for several cameras. I don't think it'll render anything but the camera that I am, the actual HDRI camera, even though it gives you that. So far, I've never noticed it rendering anything but just that. So, riveting stuff, folks, riveting stuff. I do have something cool to show y'all. Give me a moment to step away, and I shall be right back. Just a little something to kill the time while we let that render run. It's already ran. Okay. Wow. So apparently, interesting. Maybe it was just really, really easy to render. Let's get into this. So I'm gonna close that now. Because the HDRI, I'm just thinking this through here. Because the HDRI is aligned perfectly with this camera. I think I can go ahead and save this. And delete the house environment bundle. And the house itself. Now we're going to go into this Dreamland models. Nope. Dreamland. Scenes from Dreamland. There we go. Scenes from Dreamland. And I'm looking for that's not it. Oh, here we go. So let's see if this does anything for us. It does not. Let's see if we can manually set it up. Okay, so scenes from Dreamland, PW Cliff House, multi-figure base. I know I need to open that in Photoshop. You know what? Let me just copy this real quick. Let's make sure it's pointed at that one. Okay, it is pointed at that one. Oh, shoot. Oh, that's DOF. Oh, shoot. Oh, yeah, okay. Okay. Alright, so turn off. It's off. Weird. Why would it be so blurry? Did I have some sort of DOF on? Let's try this again, shall we? So I'm going to reload this house base. No. Looks like somehow that got made very, very blurry. I'm not sure why, because I don't think I had DOF on anything, but I'll just redo it and ensure that I do not. But yeah, that's HDR right there, so it's not that far off from actually looking at the set itself. Okay, so we're back to the original now. And we'll see how different it looks. Okay, so that's rendering out there. Alright, so texture shaded. Now that has no, a little bit slow here. Okay, so there's nothing there. Camera, DOF is off. So let's try it again. We'll just look at all the options and see what the great news is. It actually kind of saves everything for depth of field off. Depth of field is definitely off. Okay. Denoiser to on. Of course, that should automatically do that. Okay, let's take off the post-render stuff, and maybe that just doesn't work as well for, we don't have that on, progressive render. We're going to turn that off and just see what happens here. We're going to do another render here, and we're going to go here and just hit render, current options. Wait a minute. Cancel render. So back to my dear old friend, late Bill Herman. Bill made cool little things like this, which I only really found out about after he was gone. we were buddies in high school. I would say he was my best friend for a number of years in high school while he was down here. Then he moved back to Ohio and lived in Atlanta a bit as well. And he was always talking about coming back home. And Bill had a very challenging family and a lot of difficulty there. And he came to see me for about 9 days, I guess in 2019. Apparently after driving across the country. And I had this weird, feeling that I might not see him again. So I took video of him, and he made these things, and we were talking about our common interest in the puppets and how, hey, I do stop motion puppets. You should maybe, help me make a stop motion puppet. So while he was here, he started working on this armature, which I recently put the fur on. I want him to be kind of a werewolf, and I really went out of my way to make a workable set of claws for him. And my style of building is definitely different than Bill's because I'm looking to do the stop motion animation, which I feel is a little bit flimsy for what I need, but I think I just want to get the first one, because Bill actually touched this, looking good. And I inherited all of Bill's puppets, so I'm developing a website. As soon as I learn Elementor a little bit better, I'm going to be sharing a website featuring all of these. Some of them are really crazy. He did all kinds of heroes, the Universal monsters, mobsters, rock stars from the 70s, you name it. So I'm hoping some of you guys will enjoy checking those out. I know I sure did. They're in various states of wellness, and some of them were never even finished, so I'm working hard to kind of put them together and repair them where I can. Well, this stream is getting a little bit long in the tooth now. I think what I'll do here is once we are able to test this HDRI concept, it might be a nice place to stop, do a little housekeeping, and revisit this again, possibly this weekend at some point. I mean, we're carrying on about an hour right now, and that's kind of the outside for most of my streams, but see what happens here. I don't know how long it's going to render this. I changed the settings a little bit, so I'm not demanding it render it for 15 minutes. It seems like it hit about 7 minutes last time. Can we talk for a minute? Now it looks like it is taking the time. So 4 minutes and 24 seconds. Maybe we could just go through and scroll and look at some of my amazing renders on DeviantArt over the years. I have done a lot of stuff, made a lot of renders, and I pride myself on them never being related to each other. They're all completely random. Let's check some stuff out. Great, googly moogly. It's funny looking back at your works over time A lot of these would be promos, comics, concepts. Jeez, man. Some of them were good, some of them were not so good. When my dad passed away, there was a lot of stuff, you know, dedicated to him, of course, which only makes sense. I know I've done. It's hard for me to imagine that this is that I only joined Patreon in November of the end of November of 2013. I mean, has it only been 10 years? It seems like longer, but I guess that's what it is. So let's do a little walk back through time here. Starting back in November 30th, 2013, Band of the Dead. Now, my Renderosity gallery goes back to 2003, so twice as old, but maybe I had reached a certain level when I got to this, and I tried to be a little more, you know, this is a concept that I saw somebody else do, and I just tried to do my own version of it. And for the longest time, I couldn't afford this alleyway, and eventually went on deep discount sale, and I got it. That's part of the fun of the hobby. Oh, there you go. My second post ever was Enter the Net, and that was published on September the 4th, 2014. Holy crap, 9 years ago, man. I knew it was way back, you know. Look at that. I still get a little thrill seeing all these old school Renderosity Steam Cyborg, and this is a 6S1, a deep 6S1 character that you can't get anymore. I think he was called BH Slasher or something like that for that Project Human figure that Les made. A lot of folks don't realize that Les Garner made a lot of the Content Paradise animals and figures, and is not credited on that. I guess how they did it back then, I guess. I think he even worked for Smith Micro and the original owners of Poser. So there's this whole thing of witches flying by, and inside there's some sort of sea creature, and the spider creature that's another 6S1 original, is busting a hole in the water tank. And there's a guy up here in the little shark boat, you know. Here's a demon carrying a Nazi. Real subtle. Here's a fairy approaching this girl with the obnoxious tattoos. And this here, I'm pretty sure, is a demon from the 6S1. Lots of 6S1 figures in here. Well, I played with a lot of those back then. My Chaos Warriors from Poser, the Lycan, the Vampire, and then there's a Numbers Killer right here. So those three were a set. This is an add-on by Cylon that she did called there's a word meaning I'll come up with it. Sycophant. Her Sycophant add-on texture pack. That's crazy, man. That is crazy. Gosh. I know that I finally wisened up and put some low-res figures in there. Oh, that's a 6S1 right there. The Sagoth or whatever. He was very much into the... Oh, man, look at this. These little guys on the lift up here. Looks like that's a Fagin character based on my buddy Jason Wheatley. And it looks like the Sweet Vicious character from one of my films. Gosh, it's like a walk down memory lane. I love me some ninjas, man. There were a bunch of different ninja suits out there prior to the one 6S1 made, and a few made since. They were never very good. The ones for Poser were pretty freaking weak, if you ask me, but there you go. Okay, so here's an early Poser figure. I think that's James from Poser. Hilarious, man. Hilarious to me. See all this. We are at 9 minutes on that render, by the way, guys. Okay, so we're going to go back and keep on going in our walk through time. Well, what's up? Oh, okay. So this is inspired by Bowski. Bowski Productions. I recommend, if you're into Lara Croft, I recommend that you check out that site. Lots of great render work, particularly with non-linear storytelling. So the little gags, sort of my tribute for him, Tomb Raider. So you watched one mesh lighting tutorial, then you binge read 24 chapters of Tome of the Ancients. That's Bowski's comic. Now you think you are the next Bowski. Everyone knows there can be only one Bowski. There can be only one, of course, being an homage to one of the greatest films ever made, Highlander. Okay, this is work from a comic series that I was able to contribute to DS Creative, and they published that for me about every 2 months. So that was cool. I did get to kind of complete a little story before they went defunct. So that was kind of neat. I need to dig that out, and the pages are going to be on here. This was me again toying with the not very good composition, but I got my Creech figure. Somebody had made these new skins for him. This is mostly poser content, and I'm pretty sure that's a poser render. I'm always looking to get that next level little detail. Spider-Man on this weird looking little, I actually had a toy similar to this when I was little. It's kind of a vertical helicopter that he had his hand in a fixed position like this, right? And he's holding the web, and it would shoot the web up and you could pull him up. Anyway, I digress. Good stuff, man. Good times. Okay, this is a rather epic image that I was doing some writing for a potential short film, and I just decided I wanted to make this massive render of Egypt under the rule of Bast, as if she were an actual god. I may finish that script and develop it into a story, just a fiction story at some point, but I had a lot of fun going in and doing a lot of these figures. There's a couple of black cats that I just thought was cute to 1, 2, 3 sort of scatter those around. I wish I'd taken that further. I definitely could now. It always sometimes I'm tempted to go back and use those same props and try to revisit. This was a high definition storybook, cell for another script. This location I ended up having contracting 6S1 to make me a full set of this location, which I photographed diligently for him. Obviously, Maggie, that's my Maggie Raider character from DS Creative, and buxom cousin of Laura Croft. And yeah, there's my Respawner comic cover. Respawner is a short character-driven short film, and that was on the cover of DS Creative. Part of a comic there. Great thing about comics. Okay, this is a representation of the group right here that I played with. Two Spies duo. Eventually became a trio, but I played mandolin exclusively in that. I'm usually a guitar player. So this is supposed to be our friend Carolyn, my friend Terry, and then just some sort of little coffee shop. Terry still plays a lot. I play as well, not as much as him. I'm performing with my music partner Harrison, and Terry's got a variety of different. Now this is me just trying to be risque, little vampire action. And man, when the chess morphs came along for V4 and then getting into the other characters, they became like just. That's the first thing that happens to new figures is big booby morphs. Couldn't resist. This is another attempt at a multi-figure but with a steampunk theme. And if you'll note, here's a morph of me that Les, aka 6S1, made. And made for me to use on Michael. So that's actually Michael. Pretty dope though. I enjoyed doing that picture. It was fun. Now let's see here. This is sequential, so this is actually the comic. So I'll just load this up, move my face, and while we're waiting, we're at 97%, we'll start reading this comic. So there's page 1. Fun little story about this line right here. If you keep up with that nasty attitude, someday someone might kick your little butt. misspelled but. Could be today, could be, and then she actually tries to kick him. That's kind of a takeoff on a thing that Mike Judge wrote in King of the Hill, but the actual line, someday someone might kick your butt. I almost got arrested once. This little kid was trying to pretend to throw rocks at a car as we drove by. So I just said, hey man, you know, someday you're going to encounter somebody that's not as cool as me and they might kick your little ass, you know. And the cops really got upset with me. They said that was threatening. I said, hey, I didn't say I would do it. I said someone might do it. Anywho, I like how that looks. So moving on to the next page. I'm just going to finish these real quick. The render just completed, and I'm going to start loading it in the background right now while you look at this. Huh. I think page 4 and page 5 got a little bit out of sequence. Sorry about that, guys. So that's the last page right there. Huh. I should pick that up. Because the story actually works. That'd be cool. I should pick that up. I don't know if I can match all these fonts, though. There's no way that PSD still exists. Okay, so, you know, the, looking back at the, render situation here, the HDRI or the EXR file itself is fine. But as I get in here, it looks a little hazy. And I think it's just because I'm kind of at the extreme end of it, and it's such a big file, it's just a little bit hazy. But for our purposes, it occurs to me that this really doesn't matter. We're going to actually use a render of the actual set. So I think this works for now, but I might be able to, let's see here, I'd be able to use Topaz to, photo AI to just sharpen this. I wonder if, we should give that a shot anyway. We are getting long in the tooth now, folks. Ooh, interesting. I'm trying to load the parts and see how far I can get before it just tanks out on memory with just the HDRI, because if I use the HDRI as a lighting source and render it as a PNG, it's going to have everything but the background included, so the lighting would be right. That's kind of what we're going for here with this comp method. So save image. So I have run a filter to kind of upscale, not upscale, but sharpen this image. So hopefully that's going to work just fine. Still waiting for these things to load in here. Memory almost full, y'all. And we're getting on to like an hour and a half. Nobody's going to be watching this long. But the journey continues, as does the adventure. Oh, we're waiting on that. That's funny. Okay. Okay, perfect. All right, that side piece loaded in, so that's interesting to me now. I feel like we might possibly be able to get kind of all of these in a single render, which would be dope. I guess we can carry on while we're trying to let that load. Well, it actually has loaded. Let's see if I can load another group. Oh, here we go, getting into the stuff with my dad. Pretty good likeness right there. That's the character that Les built for me for Dad when he passed away. Now, this wasn't all for free. I mean, this, you know, I paid him for it. Dad Fett, the last Mandalorian. Man, I love that man. Miss him very, very much. Just very whimsical. That's actually my dad character right there too. Yep. Les lost his dad at a much younger age than I did. That's actually based on a character of me. It doesn't look very much like me, but as a drow. Yeah, these never look good when you try to include these, you know, like emissive type little props. At the time, I thought it was cool, but disrespect. So this is my chaos. This is a real world prop that I had someone build for me in 3D that we used in a film. That's the blind demon that was a collaboration between Josh Crockett and Les, and they had a falling out, and as a result, Josh started hating me and trashing me on Daz. Don't know what that's about, but yeah, I mean, I don't have anything bad to say about him other than he doesn't seem to like me. I like his work. Another piece by Daz, and I made this cool render. I do believe he actually used this for a product promo. He sometimes will hook me up early. Pretty interesting. There's another one of my dad. You can actually see his tattoo, his old faded Navy tattoos right there. He always regretted getting those. Take off on the Mutisha character from the old Mutantville stuff. Cartoon version of her. Yep. She wishes she was stacked like that. Massive multi-figure using a bunch of cool props from 3DC over at you can see they were inspired by the original Dawn of the Day of the Dead, sorry, the Tom Savini, like really bluish makeup. My buddy Ray's figure, the new Creech, Mr. and Mrs. Creech, the Mutisha character again, character of my friend Jody, the late Jack Stecker right there, and Kathy Butler Sandvoss, Robert Fillion, people that I work with, my old Wolfen character for regular old Genesis, and then here's our Two Spies trio again, Spider-Man back here, and then a bunch of just skeletal warriors. A lot going on in that one. Pretty fun though. I always wanted to kind of rebuild this one and do a better job of it. I hate that I use that freaking camera light. It just kind of ruins it. But it's like passengers in a classy train car, supposed to be, but they actually made a much better prop. Of course, I can't buy it right now because I'm not buying things, but eventually maybe I could rebuild this and do a better job. So she's like wasted a dude there. There's no blood dripping down. So yeah, could do a lot better with that concept. Muticia as Bastet. So I always love this prop. And that character turned out really good. Looks a lot like her. Looks a lot like the actress. There's my Elvis character. You can see some of these characters just being part rendered. Oh, this is pretty cool. This is Creech, one of the outfits Les did for her. Yeah, we talked about this one before, but one of my multi-figure efforts with a lot going on. If you look, zombies chasing people over here, a little people up there, people down there, people there, little robot dog, little tiny robot holding the cyborg nun's foot up, a Creech carrying a woman, that's a little movie camera and a director. A lot going on in that one. I just wish I could have made it higher res so you could zoom in more. This was supposed to be like a still example for somebody I was supposed to be doing storyboards for. A lot of people just want you to do the work up front and then just decide they don't want to pay for it, you know, so you gotta be careful. Although it's always fun to make. Two of my characters, that's a takeoff of my respawner character and just a shell type, geo shell type product that Les built for me. And fundamentally the archer aims at himself. This is the ninja suit that Les built as well. Very Shokasuki style. Although he insisted on using the actual Japanese names for the parts, which I found very not user-friendly for English speakers. And it's ironic because I speak some Japanese. I lived there for a year and a half, but I just thought that was the wrong thing. So yeah, my Miho character, also built by Les, in sort of I tried to make her look photoreal in kind of a 70s exploitation type image. Her again. Don't know what was going on here. This is crazy. Yeah, that's actually a product in development. It's still in development. It has these blades and poses and a bunch of different kung fu weapons, but there were other products out there at the time. And I just thought, let me just hold off and maybe I can bring them about at another time. Sultry figure with a knife. This is a sword product of mine, which I've taken down since. Didn't get much movement. I thought I'm going to save that to go with a different set. So, yeah. I go through pirate faces. What can I tell you? That's me as a Indian pirate. Don't know what that's all about. I didn't have no memory of building that. Probably just that pose was included. Okay, yeah. Here's a takeoff on the pirate with me as an sort of Indian pirate character. Hopefully nobody's concerned about the blackface aspect of it because it's not a real person. It's just a digital character. It's not actually me. It's just a, you know, morph that looks like me. But this gun worked out really, really cool. Now that gun is actually available with my flamethrower. What is he called? If I look him up on Daz, it's bad when you forget your own stuff, but it's really cool. It actually has a bolt that fires with it, and very cool. Moral of the story is go look at all my stuff on Disciple3D.com. By the way, this is my buddy Larry. This is a face gen character, my buddy Larry. Larry, boy! Larry's a character, y'all. That's all I can tell you. Robert Fillion is an astronaut. Miho character with some crazy hair. Easy renders, just really messing with lighting. Tough render with one of those Tiger Men type characters, and you know, just heavy with the hair. I did this thing as a lot of cloning to get that vest looking right, and really it's too dark, unfortunately. A lot going on though. I can't even remember what that picture is. Oh, it's actually the landing. They did put that on there. I didn't comp that in, so. But yeah, should have did more with the lighting on that one. Nice lighting on this one, huh? So we are still trying to load that scene, by the way. Might get through the whole thing here, and then we'll just call it a stream. So this was me taking a render that Reggie had done and trying to take it further. You know, I can't even tell you the products used. Two things kept this one out of a contest at Daz. Care to guess what they were? Same two things that kept this one out. I don't know. This is some sort of ninja character. Yeah, the little pink princess superhero character. I don't know why. It was a render that went nowhere. Trooping the Stream, Raw. No idea, man. I gotta work on my naming conventions. Oh, here we go. I actually did use this as a promo for the Servant of the Yellow King product, which was the spear and an outfit for this toad creature. Individual trout in the stream, and the tiger chick is actually aiming at him, about to spear him, ostensibly. Just a strange character because I could with one of the Oso products. Took a lot of comping to make it look like that. And this is just an advertisement, like a promo for some poses I was making. Wrestling poses. Oh, the old dragon folk. I used to love that figure for Michael 4 and the earliest dragon, I guess. Woo! Never did release that pose. Experiments. See, I took this image and made it look like kind of photoreal a little more. Ah, there's that Servant of the Yellow King, which is a reference to Lovecraftian lore, by the way. This is a nice promo. That's where Daz Studio can be really fun, playing with shaders. And that's another promo that was accepted. And that one was as well. This one was not, for whatever reason. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I always thought this one was cool. Time Traveler shows up chasing these little out-of-control bots with Eddie from Iron Maiden and another cyborg in a time machine. And there's actual real cowboys and stuff, you know, cowboy stuff happening. Grizzly. Still don't know what to think of that one. I just noticed that I bought a bunch of Grizzly stuff and never used any of it. Now this is a promo using that same gun I was talking about, where I've turned these bolts into lightning, and that promo was accepted. It looks pretty good, catching fire there. And yeah, she's wielding it. I believe Les's son, Killian, actually modeled that, and he modeled this. Now, the price that I paid was low, but he did not make them to scale to the figure, and I had to say, hey man, you got to adjust these so they're to scale to the figure. And he goes, I'm going to do you a favor and do it. I'm like, oh, so you're going to send me my money back? Because if you're doing me a favor... Anyway, I digress. Just how it sort of struck me wrong. And conversely, I never did anything else with him again. Bad attitude. Which I think Les will be the first to admit that, but that's his son. Anywho, another promo that worked out great. I'm really happy with the way that product turned out, by the way. This Fire Marshal, that's what he's called. Fire Marshal. Still haven't released this gun. Cool Zombie came out of Rendo. West Studio, one of my products, my HJRI products. Another of my HJRI products. That was the one that broke them. They didn't like it. Those have sold okay too, but they just... Oh, this was a really involved image right here that... look, there's bees in this. Cat chasing the bees. Dude over here just rotted waiting on her, ostensibly a suitor. That looks amazing to me. Like I gotta get back to that. There's a bee flying. I think it's a giant mechanical bee. Spider on his head. Spiders crawling on him. Getting those cobwebs right was a lot of comping, but I was pretty happy with how that one turned out, actually. I need to share that one on Daz. Let's see here. Still trying to load. It's a nice promo, which was accepted as well. Random. Made it for a contest. For some poses that I have not yet released with some props that I have not yet released. And there is something really cool about those props. I'm just waiting for an Egyptian theme to pop up again. One of the Dreamland models houses, just showing how cool some of them are with their lighting sets on the inside, and really liked it. Easy for making stories if you need just a gritty looking cowboy there. Possible promo for that set. which includes some of these things, and some other things like this that nobody's done. I don't want to say too much about it. People will copy you. Yeah, just thought it was a cool looking creature, not so much when I rendered it. Same there. Did a little trouble to make it look like the grass was, you know, on this feet, and I thought that turned out pretty good. I swear this wasn't supposed to be a watch my renders, but I am waiting for these assets to load. If I get to those to load, we'll break there. Angelina Jolie and her little servants being drowned in the little Egyptian box. Pretty cool. Yeah, cool character, just crap render. Working on the green screen. It's my buddy Reggie. Man, these fools have messed me up, giving me my own world. Reggie's world. Reggie doesn't talk like that. That's just... No suspended heavy signs. No traffic. It's safe to move. He starts to step into the road. Oh snap! Here comes Mutisha in a fast cartoon car. She almost wipes him out. Oh crap! And that's where it ended. Sorry. That's supposed to be like a based on me. That's based on my face-in character for sure. Oh, looks pretty ominous. Yep, more poses never released. Cool, but really pointless. Promo, I ended up using it Rendo, I think. It's for the HDRI backdrop. Old character from my Respawner Midnight vampire comic, which you can find out there. This little tattoo was a customization set for Miho that I never released. Oh, by the way, there's my dad figure over there in the background. Promo for the Steam female version of Steam, which Daz refused because it came much later than the male version, and it really ticked me off. That was one of the things that broke me from working with a certain person on projects for Daz. There's the male version, which they did accept, so I could have made my money back on that one if this person hadn't really hosed me. But that's what happens when people start taking you for granted. Of course, he doesn't get any of my money anymore. Pretty cool. Some face-gen characters that I've made. That's Mutisha, aka Vanel. That is Reggie, and it's a really funny expression. That is the man himself, 6S1, Les Garner. This is a cool Creech, Disciples of Creech outfit. And actually, there's Miho I had forgotten about. Oh, that's old Jamie McRoberts right there. That's Miho character right there in small. She's on like a version of a character that's been turned into stone, which I completely missed on first glance. Yeah, some of these ideas are cool. Just, you know, lost. This was a commission for a friend of mine that writes stories and wants some of his scenes illustrated from time to time. There's people riding in the back of the truck, which is a very North Carolina thing, with a dog, not safe, and they're on the way to Los Angeles. This character is supposed to be the main character. She's hitchhiking with an older man, which looks suspicious. There's Reggie checking out some character. This is actually a render of the foreground is real stuff. The background is actually a photo scan of an environment out here in front of our building. And random. This is pretty involved. I wanted to do a deep scene with ultra landscape. You can get some amazing results with it, but it's also very frustrating because it's just gotten so deep now and there's so many add-ons to it. Still no load of those characters. I think that's going to take some time. It's not crashed though. It's still actually working on loading it. So I think we're at a good stopping point, guys. So we will revisit this in the near future.